I once believed I had to chase life, that everything was a race against time, and I was always running late. But through the quantum field, I learned that nothing is ever out of place. God doesn't work with delays. He works with divine synchronicity. If this video has found you now, it's not by chance. It's because the moment is right. Not a minute earlier, not a minute later. The universe never misses its timing. Worry is the poison that keeps us trapped in the known. It convinces us that if we're not in control, everything will fall apart. But the truth is, the more we try to control life, the further we push away what we truly desire, because the frequency of worry is the frequency of lack. The field can only respond to what we are, not to what we wish for. I had to lose control to understand that I was never walking the path alone. It was when I finally let go, when I surrendered, that miracles began to unfold. And they didn't arrive small. They came greater than I could have ever imagined. Because the mind asks, but God delivers not according to our urgency, but to our readiness. That's the paradox. You don't manifest when you worry. You manifest when you surrender. Not when you push, but when you align. Not when you ask, but when you already are. In that space of trust, life begins to reorganize itself. What once looked like delay reveals itself as preparation. What once felt like absence reveals itself as invisible abundance. Nothing was ever late. You were simply being shaped. So if this message found you, it's not by chance. It's because you're ready. To release, to trust, and finally to manifest. Not because the future will happen someday, but because it's already happening within you. The conditioned mind insists something's wrong, that what your soul longs for should have happened by now. But the quantum field doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to coherence. When your mind and heart move in harmony, time loses its power over you. Waiting turns into presence. The future becomes a frequency, and life begins to find you. I once met a woman at a retreat who was crying because her healing hadn't come. She said, "I've done everything, meditated, visualized. Why hasn't it happened yet?" And I looked into her eyes and said, "Because you're trying to force what's already on its way." In the quantum field, there are no delays, only preparation. Divine timing isn't measured by clocks, it's felt by the body. The greatest trap in manifestation is believing that time is against you. But once you understand that time is not linear, everything changes. What you call waiting is often energetic alignment, the field arranging variables your mind could never comprehend. That's why trust is the most quantum act of all. When you plant a seed, you don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, trust it, and let nature do what it knows best. The same is true for your manifestations. If it hasn't arrived yet, it's not delayed, it's being calibrated. And when it's ready, it will come with a force it never could have had before. Most people quit right before the breakthrough, when the field is seconds away from collapsing into form. The mind screams, "It's taking too long." But divine timing never delays. It synchronizes. The human mind has been programmed to believe that if it's not in control, everything will fall apart. But that need for control is exactly what disconnects us from the field. Worry broadcasts scarcity, and the universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. Control is an invincible prison. It makes you believe you're safe, when in truth, you're just trapped in the predictable. The moment you release that illusion, something miraculous happens. Synchronicities appear.
You begin to see signs, patterns, and confirmations that there's a higher intelligence guiding everything. Life starts to flow, not because you're pushing the river, but because you're finally allowing it to carry you. The field doesn't respond to effort, it responds to surrender. And within that surrender, the miracle hides. Worry closes doors. Trust opens paths. The voice of God rarely arrives as a loud command. It comes through silence. True silence is not the absence of sound, it is the presence of peace. It's the moment when the mind stops shouting and the heart begins to listen. In that stillness, guidance becomes visible. I've seen people trying to force mystical experiences, sitting in meditation, waiting for visions, for lights, for something divine to happen. But it was only when they stopped trying, when they surrendered completely to silence, that the extraordinary unfolded. Not because they asked, but because they finally stopped asking. At first, silence feels uncomfortable. The mind is used to noise, to constant thought, to solving. But beyond that mental chaos lies a deeper consciousness that already knows the way. In that space, you don't hear God, you feel Him. And that presence isn't empty, it's full. Full of energy, full of wisdom, full of infinite potential. When you step into that awareness, answers arrive not as words, but as intuition. Not as orders, but as gentle direction. And in that moment, you realize God was never silent. You just needed to quiet the noise to hear Him. There comes a point when, after so much effort, you simply get tired. Tired of controlling, tired of forcing, tired of carrying the weight of everything. And in that exhaustion, something shifts. You let go. Not as a technique, not as a strategy, but because you simply can't hold on anymore. And that's when the field finally has space to move. The universe doesn't need you to force, it needs you to allow. Holding on too tightly tells the universe you don't trust it, but letting go says, I already know it exists in the field, so I no longer need to chase it. That shift in frequency changes everything. Letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means trusting that what you desire has already been created and is simply aligning with its perfect moment to appear. The ego hates waiting. It demands proof, guarantees, speed. But the field doesn't operate by the clock of the ego. It moves by the rhythm of expansion. What looks like delay is refinement. What feels like silence is alignment. You're not being denied, you're being prepared. Every challenge, every pause, every unanswered prayer is shaping you into the person capable of holding what you've asked for. The field never withholds. It calibrates. Nothing in your journey has been wasted. Every silence was guidance. Every delay was protection. You were never late. You were becoming ready. So if these words are resonating right now, take a breath. Feel it in your body. You are not behind. You are exactly on time. Type it, say it, anchor it. I am here. I am present for my moment. Life never misses its timing. The universe never fails in its synchronicity. Because the perfect moment was never somewhere in the future. It was always this one.